Welcome back to At Home with Roby. I'm Patrick McIsaac from Roby Electric, along with Trent Haston from the Roby family of companies. Visit us today at andrewroby.com or find us on the WBT.com homepage. We're now joined by Brick McDermott of Cunningham and Company. Brick, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. It was great. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's always good to get together with y'all on this show.
Well, we appreciate you being here. This is your second time with us. Obviously, the first time you probably gave us a little bit of a background of what all Cunningham does and a little bit of the history of the company. Do you think you could briefly do that again?
Sure. Cunningham Mortgage and Company, mortgage bankers. We've been around for 26 years, started by Hank Cunningham, who's the founder out of Greensboro. Started 26 years in Greensboro, opened our first office in Charlotte 25 years ago. In South Park, and it's still there today. We family-oriented company. Hank's son Tripp works there as well and runs retail. And David Gullidge, who's my boss, head of sales and marketing, has been around for 20 years plus. So it's really the good thing about Cunningham is nobody leaves. It's rare. I mean, it's just such a great tight-knit company that there's not much turnover. And in mortgage, that's huge because people are switching left and right places.
Well, tell a little something. I mean, I know Patrick said that his family refinanced their primary residence to take advantage of the low interest rates, and something you did with me, and we can talk about this. I know you talked about this on the last show. You've gathered all my information and got us laid out, and I'm making a couple moves that I want to make, and then hopefully I can still capitalize within the next couple months here before the end of the year while the rates are still low, but we're prepared to go, kind of, is what you talked about before, is build the relationship, get to know each other, and then when you're ready to throw the gauntlet or you find a house you want to buy or, you're ready to make a move in the real estate market, then you're ready to go. Absolutely.
And the biggest thing that I try to do is get as much information as we can up front so there's not a lot of surprises. I mean, no file's perfect. Once underwriters get a hold of it, they're always going to pick it apart and might have a couple things that are still needed. But we try to get the bulk of information up front. And number one, make sure that you're qualified. And number two, just to make it easier on you. We try to make the process as seamless as possible.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's obviously our experience with Cunningham and Company, in particular with Brick McDermott. My wife Jody and I refinanced our primary. We had we basically put a couple loans together and were able to refinance them all under one umbrella through Brick, and the experience was fantastic. You have a couple of things that I thought. I've been through the refinance process and mortgage process a bunch of times in my life, and I thought the way you guys handled things, it was very easy to understand. My wife and I, she leaves the financial piece to me, and that sort of, in our relationship, that's my responsibility. It's probably the one thing that I get some responsibility to handle. And the way you brought forth the information with the graphs, and you sent me an explanation video instead of just a long email that I had to read, which I thought was super personal. Talk about that, because I think that really differentiates you from your competitors.
Yeah, it's a new internet type link that we have that we provide through Mortgage Coach, which is a separate company that we work with. And what it does is, in the age of mortgages, everybody's throwing out a loan estimate, which is just a line-by-line breakdown of the cost, the fees, and all that stuff. And it's all just a sheet of paper, and at the end you see how much you owe or how much you need to bring to the closing table, and it's an estimate. Well, that's great, but what we try to provide is, okay, you have your loan estimate, but we're going to put it in another type of platform that'll show you what the cost breakdowns are for each product. We'll go up to 4 different products, 4 different loan amounts, tell you what the appreciation is on the house after 5 years and 10 years, show you even how quickly you can pay off a mortgage if you throw $100 or whatever to it a month extra, how quickly you can pay it down. There's a lot of different options that it shows you, and it's not in just paper. It's in graphs. It's in and there's a video that we open up with that kind of explains what you're looking at. And it's just really, especially with with the rental market in Charlotte is hot, and it's the prices keep going up every year, where appreciation for your houses are up to 5.3%. I think was what I saw the other day with Charlotte Metro right now. Well, if the rental rates are moving up fast, 5% plus a year, and your appreciation for you owning a house is up there, then it kind of shows, okay, well, if I can buy this house, if I can somehow put, all you have to do is put 5% down. If I can somehow own a house now with the rates as low as they are, I might be better off than renting another year or two, because I'm leaving money on the table for appreciation.
Well, I've said this many times before. We've owned rental houses and investment properties. Come up in the construction business. That's kind of your old school investment vehicle. Mm-hmm. You know how I was taught by my dad. We were riding around, I think, in 02 or 03, 04, and I bought my first rental house. And I said, man, if mortgage rates were ever 4%, we'd buy every piece of property in the world because it'd have such good value because your cost to own it would be so low. And now that I think they're 3.5% for 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, I priced one the other day. This is 20% down, great credit. I think a $400,000 loan amount, but it was 3.5%, no points.
Wow.
That's great. I want to touch on that a little bit more, Brick. You're listening to At Home with Roby. Visit us today at andrewroby.com or give us a call at 704-334-5477. Again, we're here with Brick McDermott of Cunningham and Company talking about the mortgage business. And Brick, you just mentioned that you're seeing rates at the 3.5% range. Do you see this sort of being the long term? Is this going to continue out, or is this something that people need to take advantage of pretty quickly? I mean,
I don't think, and keep in mind rates fluctuate daily throughout the day, all day. I think the market went up a tad over the past couple of days, so it's more like 3.65.
Okay.
But on the low point last week, we're at 3.5. My thought, everything I read and study up on, and just my experience, I don't think this economy can handle rates to go up too much. I mean, it's still petering along, and it's not, probably the best thing about the economy right now is housing. That's consistent, and appreciation's there, and it's really roared back since 08, 09. And if you get the rates up even to 4.5%, all of a sudden those people that could afford to buy a house can't buy the house that they want to. So then that hurts the housing economy, and then what does that do to the rest of the economy? I mean, I'm sure it's a lot more complex than that, but just in my view, I mean, I just think that rates have to stay low for a while.
I was going to ask you when we come back on the next segment, you're going to join us again. We could educate the public on how the ebbs and flows of the economy, what's going on, why are rates low. I think we can dive into that and educate our public on that when we come back. But does you hear the Fed yelling or whatever, the Fed chairwoman
Janet yelling,
and you hear what's she going to do every week or every couple of weeks? It seems like every day. And what's the Fed funds rate going to do? That trickles into the mortgage rate, correct?
Correct. The Fed funds rate, the fund rate, the Fed rate is it's not the be all the ends all on the mortgage rates, but it's definitely is the trigger to rates.
I mean, if the Fed at the top of the whole pyramid, let's call it a house of cards, but if the Fed triggers that money costs more, mm-hmm. and they say they want money to cost more, eventually money is going to cost more across the board, including residential housing.
Correct.
So that's kind of the way it works, right?
Right. That's a good way to put it.
And it seems like lately, the last couple months, the Fed has been saying the economy couldn't handle a higher rate to keep things put and keep money liquid, right?
It's amazing. Several months ago, it looked like we're going to have, from Yellen and her team over there, basically said we're going to have 3 or 4, if not 5, rate hikes this year. And that was, I think, in February. And they had one in March, but now, since then, it's and we don't know when the next one will be.
We talked about your email communication earlier. That I mean, this is great information. I mean, obviously, a lot of what Trent and I are asking, we're probably pulling from your email. Britt, can you stick around with us for a
Absolutely.
second? Okay, cool.
Sure.
You're listening to At Home with Roby. When we come back, we'll be still joined with Britt McDermott of Cunningham and Company. We'll be right back.